My narcissistic parents told my golden child brother to propose at my wedding because my fiancé loves me and his girlfriend is going to leave him. My brother has always been the favorite because he was planned. My parents only wanted one kid, but they had an accidental pregnancy and had me. They don't believe in abortion, so my mom carried me full term. That didn't stop her from resenting me for being born. My brother makes fun of me by calling me a mistake. That was my nickname growing up and my parents never stopped him from calling me that. In fact, when I went to them crying about it, they just said that he was right because they never wanted another kid. So, after high school I moved out, went to college purely on scholarships and grants, and now I'm living a really good life. The best part? I'm engaged to my beautiful fiancée and I can't wait to marry her in April. She wanted a spring wedding, and what my bride-to-be wants, my bride-to-be gets. Well, the problem started last Saturday when my parents called me over to their house to talk about something. They were very cryptic about it and refused to tell me what it was over the phone. When I got there, my older brother was there too, so I knew this wasn't going to be good. My parents sat me down and told me that my brother wants to use my wedding as the perfect day for him to propose to his girlfriend. I laughed in their faces because I couldn't believe they were asking me something so stupid, but they were dead serious. I was instantly mad and told them absolutely not. But they ganged up on me. I was so enraged and threw all the abuse and neglect I experienced for 18 years in their faces. I told them that I was miserable living with them and sometimes I wish I hadn't even been born because they clearly never wanted me. My brother laughed and mumbled, "Yeah, who would?" And that pushed me over the edge. I said that if they want to do this, then not only will they all be uninvited, but I'll also cut off the financial support I've been giving monthly since they paid to have my golden child brother go through college by taking out a second mortgage. Because even after all this abuse, I was still helping them out financially while they gave my loser brother everything he wanted, even if it meant they were going to go broke. Without me, they wouldn't have even been able to retire because my brother spent half of their retirement money on boats, an apartment that he completely trashed that ended in him getting kicked out, and my parents had to pay for all the damages he caused, and even had a failed business at some point that caused a pretty penny. I, on the other hand, landed a decently high-paying job and have been sending $1,000 to my parents monthly to help ease their mortgage. I didn't ask for a stake in the ownership of their house either because I really don't want it. It was entirely goodwill, but I can cut it off any time I want, and right then and there, I really wanted to. However, it was only a threat at the time. I left soon after, really angrily might I add, but my brother came to my home the next day to yell at me that I ruined his big chance. For once in my life, my parents were siding with me and they said they'll evict him if he tries to propose at my wedding. He accused me of financially blackmailing our parents, and said that he just wanted a good chance to propose because he was afraid his girlfriend might leave him soon. I told him that was his problem, not mine, because my wedding day is not about him, and if he tries to propose at my wedding, I will have him thrown out. That's not a maybe, but a definite. Besides, I doubt his girlfriend would appreciate her proposal followed up with being tossed out by a bouncer. He yelled that this was why his parents never loved me and why they also called me a mistake behind my back. I was pretty hurt by that, but it wasn't things I didn't already know. In the end, he went crying to our grandmother, so she called me to try to convince me to let him propose. Turns out, my brother completely changed the story to make me out to be this huge villain who called him every name in the book. Even after I told her the real story, she still sided with him. That just goes to show how deep his golden child syndrome goes. She tried to hold her ground, but the verbal backlash I ended up giving her left her crying. That got back to my parents, who were pissed at me for taking things so far. But I told them I only went that far because I had to when they were all trying to get me to let my brother use my wedding as his springboard for a proposal. They ended up agreeing with me, but still stated they feel like I'm crass. My brother showed up at my home again to scream at me that I'm an a-hole, and I hope I'm happy with myself for not allowing him the opportunity. As for my fiancée, she knows what my brother is trying to do and she's very angry about it. She's almost ready to have him uninvited if he pursues this any further. Normally I have a very mild temper. But when it comes to certain people like my brother, parents and grandmother, I can easily get short with them because of all the past favoritism. My grandmother especially. She always sided with my brother and believed his lies no matter what he did. She's the biggest reason my parents favored my brother too. Anyway, I ended up speaking with my brother again and threatened to tell his girlfriend if he was still intending to propose at my wedding without permission. He took it poorly and called me an awful person, so I pointed out that my wedding isn't about him. Our parents were there for this, and they backed me up. I think my brother did a double take when they did that. My dad pointed out that he'd raised my brother wrong, and that was on him. So, from now on my brother was to show them real respect, and they wanted to get an official lease drawn up for him to pay proper rent and utilities because my brother was living with them for free. If he chooses not to pay, he can move out and they'll rent his room to someone else. My brother turned to our mom for help, but she just agreed with dad. He looked like he was having a conniption and then left the house. We only found out where he went 2 days later because he announced that he was moving in with grandma because she invited him. Our parents basically told him that if he wants to live with her, then to go ahead. My brother responded to this by saying we all hate him for just wanting to propose to his girlfriend. My parents pointed out that it's not that he wanted to propose, but where he wanted to do it, and he'd get no support for it. He's refusing to talk to our parents now. My grandmother did call me again, but I told her he wasn't proposing at my wedding so he can get it or not come, and the same goes for her. I ended up calling her out on her favoritism towards my brother since we were kids, which she tried to deny at first, but couldn't keep doing because of how much I'd pointed out. She ended up crying again while I told her that if she keeps trying to insist on this, then she won't be coming to my wedding. She begged me not to rescind her invitation, but still said she doesn't understand why I couldn't let my brother have his way before ending the call. My fiancée is fully ready to remove my brother and grandmother from the wedding. My mom called me the other day to tell me she spoke with my grandmother. She had told her everything I had said in our conversation, and my mom finally saw that she had favored my brother a little too much. She ended up tearing my brother a new a-hole, but he still tried to justify himself to her. That's when she told him they were through and cut all contact with him. My brother of course blamed me. Even though his girlfriend said that she's been ready to leave him for a while now, and if he'd tried to propose, no matter where, she'd have told him no. He is now boycotting my wedding, which is honestly for the best. I said I wouldn't miss him, and that he's in his 30s now and needs to grow up. Our parents have cut the umbilical cord and are no longer supporting him. They're already planning on renting his room to someone else because they need the money after the financial hole he left them in after dropping out of college, just to do mooch off them for a while and then get a degree with online college later, and not paying any rent while also making them pay for his food and utilities despite having a good paying job. They spent the world on him and he wasn't the least bit grateful. That made my brother just shut down and leave my home. Since then we have not heard a peep out of him.